I'm Vince McCone, and he's Anthony Walsh. Anthony, how are we doing today?
I'm doing all right. Kind of weird to be talking to you through the phone, but new experiences are always good, so I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you want to know what new experiences aren't always the best. You could say that for sure. I'm right now in studio. I'm talking to absolutely nobody. I thought I'd at least have your face to look at, but the Zoom isn't working, and someone's going to be angry at me because that Zoom is not working, and I'm going to tell them I don't know technology. So we're hoping for the best here in WMSC at the Walkoff. But we are now fully immersed into the season. Baseball has been flying. It's been a fun start to the season, to say the least. Anthony, you weren't on the show last week. We were talking about some hot takes. Do you have any hot takes to start off this season?
Well, my hot takes. The Atlanta Braves have gotten off to a terrible start, and I don't want to. It would be a scorching hot take for me to say that they're going to stink. They're not going to stink. But are they going to win that division? I don't think so. I think it's going to be between the Phillies and the Mets. I don't think it's overreaction necessarily to say that. I know it's early, and the Mets came back from 11 games under 500 way later in the season and all that, but their injury concerns do worry me. I know we're going to talk about Spencer Strider later on in the show, but they have so many guys that are just really big injury concerns, and to get off to as bad of a start as they got to, this is a tough division with the Phillies and the Mets. So I'm going to say that they're barely going to be fighting for a wild card spot. I don't think they're going to win that division.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Sorry, I didn't drink of water. I think they're a very good team. Do I think they deal with a lot of injury problems? Yes. They're not my favorite to watch. When they get Acuna back, when they get Strider back, yeah, they're going to be a better team. But that's just part of the game. One's an MVP winner, and the other one is multi-time All-Star. He led the league in strikeouts, I'm pretty sure. Just an all-around good player. So that makes total sense to me. Now, on the other hand, though, you're looking at the Mets and the Phillies. I think it's going to be a dogfight between them, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, what we think about that. But before we get to anything, breaking news this week, which happened way earlier this week, but our shows are only on Friday, so we only get to talk about them today. Vlad Guerrero Jr. signed to a 14-year deal. That's right. He signed until 2039. My goodness. He's a 26-year-old right now. Full no trade clause. 4 premium seats. These are some of the bonuses that come with his contract. First of all, 14 years, $325 million bonus. And it was a $500 million deal. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, this is just, first of all, it's good for the game because finally someone chose the Toronto Blue Jays, and finally a big free agent isn't going to the Mets, the Yankees, or the Dodgers. So, it's a good thing for the game, but, how well is his contract necessarily going to age? I don't really know. He's dealt with injury concerns before. He's a young player, but 14 years for any player is a lot if you're not one of the best hitters in the game. And you could say he's one of the best hitters in the game, sure, but he's not top 3 or top 4. So, look, it's good for the Blue Jays. I don't know how well it's going to be for them 10 years from now, but you don't worry about that when you sign a contract. They want to win over these next few years. I will say, seeing them last week in person against the Mets, their bullpen is atrocious, and their manager made some pretty bad decisions. They have a lot to improve, but he's young. So if they find a way to, be a playoff team over these next 4 or 5 years, maybe they got a shot. I don't know.
Well, you want to know? I was actually particularly watching their game yesterday. So on the 10th against the Red Sox. And yes, they played a good series against the Red Sox, but I was watching it specifically yesterday just to check on how this team's doing. And the Red Sox took a 1-0 lead in the bottom 6. Yeah, bottom 6. And then the Blue Jays would score 2 more in the top of the 7th. And it was 2-1. And it really did look like it was going to be all Blue Jays because Bassett pitched really well yesterday. He had his best stuff. And then the bullpen comes along. They had Chad Green, and it just looked like problems starting to build up on each other. They brought out Yimi Garcia. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. He did pretty good. But it's just the bullpen is so weird. It just doesn't work together. I think that's going to be their biggest problem right now. But Anthony, let me tell you some of the things that come along with this contract. You ready?
Sure.
a full no trade clause. All right. This is what the 325 bonus. This is what he's going to be saving. All right. He'll have a full no trade clause. He'll have 4 premium seats to all Blue Jays regular season and playoff games that he could probably give to his family. A luxury suite at the Rogers Center will be available for the Associate Press at discounted rates, which I don't really know how that goes into your contract, but all right. A hotel suite for all road games. Okay. This is where it starts to get interesting. A $150,000 bonus if he wins AL MVP.
You would think that'd be more.
Right? $125,000 bonus if he comes in second. And $100,000 if he comes in third. $75,000 for fourth. $50,000 for fifth. They really want this guy to finish high.
Well, it's not even that much of a gap between first. It was a $50,000 difference between if you get the MVP versus if you finish third. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's all it is. That's all you got to be aiming for. He gets a $50,000 bonus for being named All-Star Team, which he has already done 4 times in his career. He'll get another $50,000 if he wins Gold Glove, which he has won once in his time at first base, and the same with Silver Slugger, which he's done twice. And then he will. This one's fun. Another $50,000 for the ultimate marriage of team and personal accomplishment, winning the World Series MVP, and $25,000 for being named American League Championship Series MVP.
Well, I think this is the kind of stuff that the Blue Jays have to do to retain him. It's got to be tough for him to sit there and think, I could go win World Series with, name a team. I'm not just going to say the Mets because I'm a Mets fan. It could be the Dodgers. It could be, the Yankees. It could be any team. The Blue Jays have, as we know, have had a really tough time retaining, not even retaining players, just getting players in general. And I think they're following a little bit of the Mets playbook with Juan Soto. I mean, if you remember, Juan Soto has got suites for his family for every game. He got all these different perks. I think he got security for him and his family, all these different things that really would never really seen much before in baseball or sports in general outside of these huge contracts. So I think, the Soto contract, as much as it's talked about, it's going to change how contracts are in baseball. I think it's going to be more popular for these guys to be getting all these different perks on top of their big deals. So, good for Vlad. He's a really good player. I just question, when he's 35 years old or even 32, 33 years old, is he still going to be putting up that same level of output? I don't know. If I'm a Blue Jays fan, all I got to worry about now is you better win over these next 4 or 5 years because I'm not sure how the back half of this contract is going to look.
That's what I think, too. I will say, and I know you'll agree with me, Anthony, this was a huge shock. Huge shock. I could have never told you that this was going to happen. It looked almost clear as day that during the offseason, they were going to get a deal during the offseason or it wasn't happening. And then it never happened. And even Vlad went on whatever he went on. And he said, well, you want to know what? We tried our best. Nothing came of it. I will be testing the free agent market. And then he signs a bonus about a month later.
Well, I could tell you firsthand. At the Mets game on Thursday, the Mets crowd cheered Vladimir Guerrero as he came out for introductions. It was a noticeable cheer for Guerrero. Now, to be fair, there was some reports at that point that they were talking, Guerrero's agent and the Blue Jays were talking, and that maybe they were hammering out a deal. But I don't think anybody took it too seriously because you're right. Guerrero himself numerous times said, listen, if this isn't worked out in the offseason, I'm not negotiating during the season. Obviously, that wasn't true. Maybe he gave his agent a certain number and said, don't go below this. If you want to negotiate, fine. I don't know how involved he was. But at the end of the day, they got the deal done during the season. And it was certainly a shock to those Mets fans in that crowd. I wasn't one of them cheering him. Would I have liked to have Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? Sure. About a month or two ago, I was saying, hey, if Pete doesn't come back, I want Guerrero. Now that's not possible. So that changes things for the Mets, too. But, yeah, firsthand eyewitness account here that it was a shock because the Mets crowd was cheering him just a week ago today.
I like him. I like his potential a lot. I'll say that. And the Mets cheering him was. I remember you told me this when we went to class. It's almost clear as day to me that, hey, you want to know what? He's probably not coming back. He could be here next year. That would be a big piece. And I know the Mets were thinking it. I know a couple other East Coast teams were thinking the exact same thing. And that's just how it works sometimes. That's just impressive to me. That's impressive for the Blue Jays, who've been missing every single guy lately, and I feel awful for them. But that's sometimes how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
now,
exactly. And I think it's a good thing for baseball in general. Hopefully more of these teams do retain their star players.
Anthony, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate this contract?
I'll give it a 7. Potentially more, obviously, if they go deep in the playoffs or win a World Series. This is a franchise that's been through a lot. They haven't won in a long time now. They haven't retained many of their players. I mean, Jose Bautista was their last big star that they've had, for majority of his career.
Sure.
And he left, when he got really old. But he was there for the prime years of his career. Every other guy you really think of left in the prime years of their career. So I'm happy for them. I mean, like I said, I do have concerns about the contract. I certainly don't feel as good about this contract as I do the Soto contract. And that's not just because I'm a Mets fan. That's because Soto's style of baseball ages much better than Guerrero's style of baseball.
Yes.
So, it is what it is, but this is a big thing for the Blue Jays. And like I said, even as a Mets fan, I hope teams retain more of their players. We need to have a more equal playing field. We see so many of these teams already that have records almost below 500 that are a game away from first place. I mean, that's not sustainable. You're not going to have a sport that people want to watch if that continues. So hopefully this is a precedent for more teams that aren't huge market teams spending on their players.
I agree with that. If this is budging any team, I hope this is budging the Reds. Ellie's going to go on the market soon. That's a guy that you want to keep for a long time. You better keep him. You have to keep him. Now, Anthony, my final question to you about this is, what do we think about Bo Bichette? Is he going to get a contract extension soon, or is he just going to be, the odd one out in the situation?
Well, if he has, a breakaway year this year, much like Soto had last year, not that he's going to put up the same numbers. I'm not going to compare that. But if he has that great of a year, probably not, because he's going to command a contract that the Blue Jays just aren't going to be willing to pay. This Guerrero contract by itself is probably putting them at a salary level right now where they're not that comfortable with. And that's true for most of the teams in the league, unfortunately. Would I like to see him stay? Sure. That makes the AL East a lot more competitive. You need protection in a lineup. We've seen it already this early with the Mets. If Pete Alonso hadn't have gotten off to as good of a start that he's gotten off to, Juan Soto isn't getting pitched to nearly as much. So you need protection in that lineup. And if Bichette leaves, it's going to be tough, because that lineup without Bichette, just with Guerrero there, it's not that great of a lineup. Even with Bichette there's a lot of holes. The bottom half of that lineup, you go from Andres Jimenez to nothing, pretty much. I mean, I was sitting there watching that. When you pass the 5-6 hole in that lineup, there's not many concerns there. So, and I know George Springer isn't a bad player. He's gotten off to a good start. I still have my concerns with him. He's an older player.
He's an older player.
Aside from that, yeah, I mean, aside from that, though, the 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters on that team are all hitting like 250 or under. So they have a lot of holes, but is it going to happen? Probably not. Should it happen? Yes.
I honestly think, I say that Vlad has a bigger ceiling than Bo, and I love Bo, and I think they're very similar, but different players. They both are just trying to do one thing. Vlad is clearly trying to hit for power. And I know he's come close to 300 at times, and he's had those streaks. But at the end of the day, he's swinging for power, and Bo's swinging for contact at the end of the day. And they both do a little bit of both. But I would really like to see, they sign Santander. They make this happen. I just think, in my eyes, that it would be better if Bo left, for his sake. I don't think he's going to get a big contract there. They signed Santander. They need to make some moves for, this is what we're going to do for a couple more years. We need to get some pitching. Obviously, it can't all be offense, and I think Santander was the last of the offense there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You got to convince the guy outside of just the money, because they're not going to offer him some huge, crazy deal that's going to outperform every other team. It's not going to happen. So you have to convince the guy that you're going to win. And right now, their rotation outside of Chris Bassett is very shaky, and Chris Bassett is an older pitcher. And we already went over their bullpen. I mean, the game I was at, they put in a 23-year-old who had one inning of Major League experience to face Juan Soto in a huge situation. That gives you an idea. When Chad Green is one of your upper echelon pitchers in your bullpen, That's not very good. So they have a lot of work to do, and they have a lot of convincing to do. I mean, even the Mets, who went all the way to the National League Championship Series last year, had to convince Juan Soto that this is going to be a team that's sustainably winning. That's no different with a guy like Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette's nowhere near the player that Soto is, but he's young, he's good, and he's gotten off to a really good start already. So you're going to have to convince a guy like him, hey, we're not going to waste your time here. Just because, we're going to give you $200 million or whatever, why would I not take $250 million elsewhere and I go win 3 World Series? So you have to convince the guy that this is a place he wants to be, and they have a lot of work to do. It doesn't mean they can't do it, but it's a tough division there. The Red Sox and the Yankees are 2 really solid teams. The Baltimore Orioles, can't forget about them, even though they haven't done enough in the offseason. I could go off the same rant about them that I say about the Blue Jays not spending. But they got to convince the guy. That's bottom line. Otherwise, probably another Los Angeles Dodger, probably another New York Met or New York Yankee, like we've seen this whole time. So we'll see.
And Vlad's not the only one that got a big contract extension, and this one gave me equal amount of shock because there's a lot of guys out there that deserve a lot of love and everything, but this player is our age, Anthony, or at least my age. 21 years old, the All-Star, second place in Rookie of the Year last year. Jackson Merrill signs a $135 million 9-year contract with the Padres. He's inked in until 2034. I mean,
smart move by Padres.
Sure. This is a much better move, and I really, really, really like this for them. I mean, they are a team that is understanding that they have a lot of young talent, and I'm not saying that Vlad is in young talent. I'm just saying that deep down in my little heart, I know that Jackson Merrill has the potential to put out just as many good years as Vlad. Maybe not the same level, but they're both putting out good years. And for the player that Jackson Merrill is, I think he can do a lot. He's going to turn 21 in 8 days. Yeah. I feel very confident that this guy is born ready for the major leagues. He's ready. Now, the one thing that I want to ask you, Anthony, is the Players Union, of all people, the Players Union said, I don't like this contract. Don't do it. It's not going to help you. It's a bad contract. And he signed it anyways. What do you think about that?
That's surprising. And I could see why the Players Union said that, because he's nowhere near his prime. You said he's about to turn 21 years old. What we've seen from him is nowhere near the best we've seen from him, as long as there's no big injuries or anything like that, assuming health. So, yeah, I understand where the Players Union is coming from, because they want these guys to max out the contract as much as possible. The Juan Soto playbook is exactly what they want. The Vladimir Guerrero playbook is exactly what they want. They want you in your mid-20s. You've already given a lot to that organization, and you have a solid 10, 15 years more. That's what they want, because Jackson Merrill, if he goes on to have another 4 or 5 really good seasons, all-star level seasons, he could get way more than that amount of money. And he could get way longer than that amount of money. The good thing for him, though, is at the end of this contract, he'll be about 30 years old, and he can still get money as long as he's producing. So, I understand why he did it. I know I don't know if you saw, he made a little shot at Juan Soto in the press conference, saying, I'm happy in one place, I don't need all these things, and I love being a Padre. Whatever. I mean, everybody's entitled to do what they want with their lives. If he wants to sign the contract 9 years there, he's fine. And if Soto wants to sign a 15-year contract with the Mets, that's fine. I don't know why people need to take shots at people, but anyway, I'm happy for him. He's a young guy making a lot of money. Hopefully, when he's 30 years old, he could go out there and make even more. But I could see both sides of it. Listen, I mean, the Players Union only has so much of a say. This is this guy's life. If he's happy there, he's happy there. And if also, you never know, he could go tear his ACL tomorrow, and then maybe not make that money. So anything can happen. You want to make that money when you can. So I see both sides of it for sure.
I see where the Players Union is coming from. I'm interested to know what was going through Merrill's head. He obviously the Players Union was saying you can get more money from them if you wait a little bit more time. And obviously the Padres are saying, this is the money we have for you right now, and if you want more, then it might not be coming from us. It might be coming from another team. And to me, it just looks like he wants to say, and he wants to stay in San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah. Man, I could not get that word out for the life of.
Well, the other thing is, like, he has years left on his rookie contract, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
if he wanted to wait, he easily could have waited. So that tells you just how much he wanted to stay. And so kudos to him. I'm glad he's happy where he's at. That's good.
Very, 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 very happy for him. Well, we'll see how that one goes out. Now, Anthony, there's a lot more to talk about here around the league. One of them, we're still dealing with injuries. Spencer Strider threw last night. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 13 strikeouts at the Gwinnett Stripers against, I could not tell you against who. I love minor league teams. I have no idea most of their names.
Well, the good thing is that it doesn't really matter. As
No,
long
it
as he comes out
doesn't
of it
really
healthy.
matter.
Yeah, as long as he comes out of it healthy, as long as he doesn't totally pitch horribly, and even if he did, as long as he felt okay, it's all right. But I mean, this is obviously huge for the Braves. The Braves have come out to a terrible start, and they could come back from it. I know I was, ragging on them a little bit earlier, but they could come back from it. Anything could happen. But it does put a little bit more pressure on Strider to get back there quickly, because get back to the big leagues quickly, and that's not a good thing because it's only April, and you want to give this guy as much time as he needs. You want him available for that stretch run when they're playing the Mets, when they're playing the Phillies. Those games are going to be huge. I mean, we saw how important that last series against the Mets was for the Braves last season. For all we know, we're going to get that again. I could easily be wrong, and they could have a huge comeback. Anything can happen. But the more you rush a guy, the more you risk another injury, and you don't have him for that series. So if I was a Braves fan, I'd say this. Look, I know it's a big situation. You're multiple games under 500. It's also still early April. Give him as long as he needs, because if you don't have Spencer Strider, I'm sorry, you're not competing with the Mets and the Phillies. You're just not. Those Mets and the Phillies are 2 really solid teams, and they have their issues. I'm not claiming neither of those teams are perfect. But you need a guy that goes in there every 5 days and can give you 5-6 innings guaranteed. That is so valuable to a team. I know we've changed, sabermetrics has changed things. That still remains true. The teams that win 9 times out of 10, there are exceptions, but 9 times out of 10, even with the Texas Rangers a couple of years ago, they had Jordan Montgomery. You need a guy that could go out there and give you innings, and it's consistent. And for the team, that's Spencer Strider. Chris Sale once was that guy, and he had a great year last year, but he's older. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. So Spencer Strider is absolutely huge to the team's success this year, and I for their sake, I hope they take a while to bring him back because he's worth it.
I like that. I mean, they have Schwellenbach right now, who's been pitching really good, and he pitched really well yesterday against the Phils, and the Braves look like they're making a move back because they just beat this. They won the series against the Phils. They had a nice comeback in that first game. What I will say though is Schwellenbach is too young for me. Bryce Elder is too old for me. Chris Sale's too old for me. I can't even tell you the other 2 starters, right? I can't.
Yeah, I mean, those are the main guys for sure.
Exactly. They need Strider. I think I can argue and make a pretty good case that Strider is more important to this team right now than Acuna is. You can wait on Acuna a little bit. All right, you still have the power coming from Matt Olson and Austin Riley, and you still have good defense out there from Michael Harris. That's fine. I'm fine with waiting a little bit longer on Acuna, but I would rather have, and I'm not saying rush him. What I'm saying is he's more important to the team. If he was on the team right now, they'd probably be a 500 team, and that's fine by me.
Yeah, and especially you got to also consider the division they're playing in. I mean, I know the Phillies have a good pitching. I'm not taking that away from them, but the Phillies lineup, I think you would agree with me, is more of a strength than their pitching. Am I right in that thought?
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I think their lineup has been struggling lately. I think their pitching has been really good.
Right. No, that's true. But I'm saying just in general, when you look at the Phillies and you say, okay, if they're going to win, it's going to take it's going to take their pitching too, obviously. But their hitting is like, let's say, Harper goes down or Schwarber goes down. That's a much bigger blow than one of their mid-starting pitchers going down. I'm not talking about Wheeler. I'm saying the mid-starting pitchers. The hitting is a bigger strength than the pitching, I would say at least.
I think that's a fair assumption.
So basically my point is that, and that's obviously true with the Mets too. The Mets, I talked about needing an ace. Well, the Mets don't have an ace right now. Senga's pitched well, but the Mets probably at the trade deadline are going to have to make a move. But anyway, my overall point is, in this division, you're going to need pitching because you're dealing with the 2 top teams in this division. You're dealing with huge lineups. With the Mets, you got Lindor, Soto, Alonso. Vientos, hopefully, when he comes back from his slump. The Phillies, you got the big bats there. So, and I know JT Realmuto, everybody's down on him a little bit. Hey, he'll be fine. The Phillies and the Mets bats are their biggest strengths. And in order to compete with them, you're going to have good pitching. And Strider's absolutely huge to that.
Interesting. I like that. Now, Anthony, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. But before we get anything done, I would love to know your matchup of the week. Now, I'll say mine first because I feel like I'm putting you on the spot again, which I always feel bad about.
Matchup in terms of like the games? Or?
Yeah. Which series are you most excited to watch this weekend?
Give me 1 minute.
Yeah. You take your time, bud. I feel like I'm putting you on the spot here.
No.
But I will tell you mine. All right, it's going to be a fun weekend for baseball. The Guardian, a lot of in division rivalries games this weekend. Royals Guardians, Pirates Reds, Blue Jays Orioles, Nats Marlins, which isn't as exciting as everyone else. Angels Astros, Tigers Twins. Lots of great matchups. I'm going to say that my matchup to watch this week, and it's between two big ones. And I'll say the two big ones. I'll tell you one thing. It's not the Rangers and the Mariners. Because the Mariners' hitting has been so atrocious that I feel bad for their amazing starting pitching. They go out there, they give a quality start in 7 innings. They give up maybe 2 runs max. And if they give up 3, well, then it's an automatic loss because you're bringing in the bullpen, and the bullpen's not going to do anything. The hitting has been awful. It's embarrassing to watch. That's me. But what I will say is my matchup to watch this week, and it'll prove to me that, 1, this team is ready for the playoffs for another year, and 2, it'll prove to me that the other team is not ready for the playoffs and is finally on the decline. My matchup to watch this week, it's Tigers Twins. I still love the Tigers, but if they can beat the Twins, who have run the division for years now, despite last year, I'm ready. I'm ready for them. I think they'll be ready and set to go. Reese Olson is on tonight against Festa of the Twins, and I'm excited for that game. What about you, Anthony?
I got one that, if I would have said this before the season, I probably would have said, who really cares about this game? But given the start that the San Francisco Giants has gotten off to, I'm looking forward to Giants-Yankees, man. I think this is going to be a pretty exciting series, not season. The fact that the Giants got off to a 9-3 start, I don't know about you. I did not see that coming.
I couldn't have told you.
I know we were both pretty down on the Giants. We didn't think they were going to be terrible. We certainly didn't think they were going to be good. This could be just a case of the early April baseball season that we're getting fooled. I don't know. Or at least I'm getting fooled. But it was the Yankees, too. I mean, they've kept their head above water, 7-5. They're obviously dealing with a lot of injuries. They're still waiting on Heel. They're still waiting on Schmidt, out for the year with Cole. Maybe you got some good news on Giancarlo Stanton. I know he was supposed to be out for the year, but now there's whispers that he might come back. We'll see. But I think this is a big series for them. You're really playing a scorching hot team for the first time this season in the San Francisco Giants. Can they come away with winning this series? It's early, but these are the type of games that it puts the test on the New York Yankees. Everybody's a little bit down on them with all their injuries and everything. I still think with the American League, they're still one of the top teams in this American League. But there's interleague play. Everybody's got to play everybody now. So you got to go with some of these higher echelon National League teams. And right now, the San Francisco Giants are one of those teams. Whether they'll be that 5 months from now, I don't know. But as of right now, I think this is a pretty solid matchup.
Yeah, I like that matchup. I mean, the Yankees are a very good team. And they're proving that, the loss of Juan Soto wasn't as dire as we thought it was going to be. But what I will say is the Giants have been showing us that, maybe making no moves except for Willy Adames was a good thing. And I don't really know if it's true, and I don't know if it's going to pan out for them. But why not?
I stand by that the pitching staff. This is another reason I'm interested to see. How is this pitching staff going to hold up against the Yankees lineup? Even a weakened Yankees lineup is still a good lineup. I'm very, not positive on this Giants pitching staff. So we'll see how it works out. But I mean, it's been good for them so far, so maybe I'm wrong.
Interesting. Now, Anthony, our last big thing that we're going to be talking about today, the Mets and the Phillies. We've been talking a lot about the West Coast, the East Coast. Both Mets and Phillies are facing some pretty bad teams. I wouldn't say awful, I think the A's are on the upward scale, and the Cardinals are kind of at their level right now, but moving the opposite direction. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals I look at as a downward spiral. The A's I'm looking at as a slowly moving upward spiral.
Yes. Like a walking in an insanely weird path, but still making them way up. The Mets and the Phillies, though, 8-4, both sit atop the division. And now, I would love to hear what you've seen from your Mets so far to start off this season.
Well, obviously the record I'm happy with, but the majority of this lineup has to hit more. If you haven't watched the games, maybe you don't necessarily think that because they did have a couple games where they scored a good amount of runs. But the fact is, the middle to back end of this lineup has been atrocious. Mark Vientos has gotten off to one of the worst starts of his career. Actually, not one of. It's the worst start of his career. This is the first time he's playing a full season, so he's been look really bad. But I believe in him. I think he'll be fine. Last year, I don't think was any fluke, so I think he'll be okay. But still, terrible start. The center field position, we're getting absolutely nothing from. Tyrone Taylor, Jose Siri have been pretty bad. Brandon Nimmo's been a little bit better, but still nowhere near good enough. Second base, Brett Beatty's been atrocious. Luis Angel Acuna, I still believe in, but hasn't done anything either. Catcher's position, I like Luis Torrens, but he's a backup, and we're waiting on Francisco Alvarez, very heavily. He's not coming back for another few weeks at least. The pitching staff's been amazing, and the bullpen's been amazing. So I don't have any complaints with that. But if this team is going to win this division, the middle to back end of this lineup has to improve, and we need health. I mean, Jeff McNeil, as much as I was down on him last year, you're going to need him to come back, and you're going to need a 300 season out of McNeil, or at least close to 300. And you need Francisco Alvarez to be what we thought that he was going to be, which is a top prospect, and he's played nowhere near that level so far in his career. So there's holes there. There's things I'm happy about there. Overall, it could be a lot worse than 8-4. But we're one of these teams that hasn't faced a lot of really good teams. We faced a couple of solid teams. Blue Jays and Astros aren't bad, but it's going to be our first real test when we play you guys, the Phillies, in a couple of weeks. That's going to be, all right, we're playing the big boys now. So I'm feeling good, but just cautiously optimistic.
I think that's a fair assessment. I'll tell you what I think about the Phillies. For the Phillies, for me, the 8-4 record is it's good to see, but I will say, I don't know if they have it anymore. Bohm has been hitting atrociously, just like the Mets. The hitting has not been great. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. I seriously think that come summer, come the heat, come everything, the Phillies will be fine. The Mets will be fine. I don't think that's a problem at all. What I do think is a problem is the Phillies have no bullpen now. They lost Estevez to the Royals, and they lost Hoffman to the Blue Jays. And then what they basically said, you want to know what here? We'll compromise. You want to know what the Yankees compromised? They got all these random guys that work really well for their team. The Phillies said, we'll compromise too. And they compromised, and they got Jordan Romano. I apologize. And he's been awful. He's been absolutely awful. The team is just... I don't know. I thought that first game of the Braves-Phillies was a great game to start off. They fell down early. They fall 3-0. First Sosa robbed a home run. And then they have all these problems, and then the ball drops in front of them. Riley hits a home run, this and that. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The Phillies also have a huge problem because they have Edmundo Sosa, who's hitting amazing, and Trey Turner's playing short, and he's not going to move anywhere. And I don't think he should move anywhere. But you already had an outfield problem in the outfield with Marsh and Rojas, who are still fighting to see who's going to be starting out there. They brought on Kepler, and then they have Castellanos out there. So you have 4 outfielders already. And then Thompson goes, okay, now we're going to add Sosa to the outfield so he can keep starting. And now it's just a whirlwind of emotions and things you got to deal with here. And now you're sitting 2 good players. I hate to say it, and I hate to be that guy because everybody else is telling me that's wrong, you shouldn't be doing that, blah, 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 blah. Sosa needs to hit the trade block, and so does Kepler. They either that or you put Marsh and Rojas on the trade block. And I don't think they're going to put Marsh on the trade block. I would not be surprised if they put Sosa on the or Rojas on the trade block with Sosa. I think there's no way that this team is in October with Edmundo Sosa on their team. It just doesn't make sense to me. I seriously think they're going to trade him because I know this team, and I think the Blue Jays are working this direction. I think the Phillies have this direction. The Yankees kind of moving this direction. I don't know. They are a team that will keep their core. They are going to keep Harper around for as long as possible. They're going to keep Turner around for as long as possible. They're going to keep Schwarber around for as much as possible. And the same with Wheeler and Nola. And I think those are the 5 guys that you look at on this team. And you're going to say they're going to take everything, and the Phillies will build around them. They'll never do the opposite way. So, I don't know. I don't think that's a smart idea.
I'll give you a guy as a Mets fan that I'm worried about. Maybe it'll make you feel a little bit better about the Phillies.
All right.
Jesus Luzardo, I'm terrified of because that guy's a lefty and he's an elite lefty and he really bolsters your rotation. As good as Zach Wheeler is and Aaron Nola, I have my words about Aaron Nola, but as good as they are, Jesus Luzardo is young. He's a lefty and he's very good, and that's a 3 combo there that is valuable to have because you go around the league and some of the good teams and some of them don't have a good lefty. Most of them don't have a good lefty. And to have that on your team is just, maybe I'm stretching way too far ahead, but in October, you can move him to the bullpen. If you need him in a spot start there where you have facing a lot of tough lefties in the lineup, that's huge to have. He terrifies me. And obviously Zach Wheeler too, but that's stating the obvious. But I think all the points you made are solid. I mean, just the question is, what are you really going to get for Edmundo Sosa at the trade deadline? We're way ahead of ourselves, asking this question. But if a guy's not performing and you don't like him, I agree. Like, I want Jeff McNeil traded, but the problem was, what were you going to get for Jeff McNeil? So you got to look at it from that angle too.
Yeah, I like that. I've definitely said on the show during the offseason that I love the Jesus Luzardo move. I'm sorry, 1 second. I definitely said that I love it because he was such a profound. Listen. Give me 1 second. The Phillies are good at making good starting pitchers amazing. All right? Ranger Suarez on any other team is not going to be great. And I seriously think the same with Nola. I don't think the same with Wheeler. I think Wheeler is bound to deal wherever you put him. But if a starting pitcher is joining the Phillies, they're probably going to do good. Now, it is the opposite with relief pitchers. I think that's entirely true. Jordan Romano can't pitch. Who else? Jonathan Papelbon. That was a while ago. That's like 13 years ago. But he couldn't pitch after that. He was just atrocious to watch. They just can't really make good. Craig Kimbrell. Like the list goes on and on. Corey Knebel. It keeps on building up about how bad these teams, the relief pitching is there. And I don't know. It's not the starting pitching that'll ever bother me. It'll be the relief pitching that'll always consume me. And the fact that the Phillies cannot hit off starting pitching. They can't. They hit like somewhere in the hundreds. If you're ever thinking like, now, we're not on live radio, so I am very well allowed to say this. If you're ever thinking about betting, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, you want to know what? I don't think Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper or any of them will strike out. I'm going to give you about a 70% chance that they will strike out in the first 2 at-bats against the starter. It happens every time. They'll have a man on third. They'll strike out 3 times. That's my biggest worry. And it's not this year as much. It's just I've watched it for so long. They don't know how to put a ball in play to save their life. But I think both these teams meeting is going to be a battle to remember. It's going to be a lot of fun for the next couple of years. I'm excited to watch it. I don't know about you, Anthony.
No, definitely. And I think, trust me, I get the frustrations with the hitting, but you do have to remind yourself that these guys, a majority of them have produced. And, as much as I have frustrations with the Mets, Jeff McNeil's produced in his career. He had a terrible year last year, but he's produced in his career. Alvarez, not so much. That's a bigger worry. Brandon's the most produced in his career. As long as he stays healthy, which is a big if, he'll be okay as long as he stays healthy. But the same goes for you guys, though. I mean, like, most of the guys you're worried about, I guarantee you, as long as they're healthy, they'll be okay. Like, you got to keep in mind, this is the team that was good enough to do as well as they did last year, to do as well as they did the past few years, to go on that magical run to go to the World Series. It's essentially the same team. I mean, at least hitting-wise, not many guys have left and not many guys have been added, which maybe that's part of the problem. Not many guys have been added. But, this is still a team that, at least for now, and I've said it for a while, I do worry about them in 3 or 4 years as these guys get older. I think you're going to have a problem on your hands. But right now, there's still enough in their prime where you could say, all right, this is a team that's going to be a problem. It's certainly a team I'm worried about. And the good news for you is the team that you're competing with has some shaky starting pitching. I mean, as much as I've enjoyed Griffin Canning's hot start, Griffin Canning's a career 4.5 ERA guy. As much as I believe in Clay Holmes, he's gotten off to a rough start, and he's never really pitched in his career before outside of like 6 starts at the Pirates 7 years ago. I love Sean Manaea, but Sean Manaea's hurt. And I love the bullpen start we've gotten off to, but A.J. Minter has had injury issues, and Edwin Diaz, 1 year he's great, 1 year he's not. So you got to keep in mind that you're not facing, you don't got to worry about the Dodgers until maybe the championship round. You got to worry about the Mets. And I love my Mets, and I believe in them, and I think they're going to go far this year. But we have our issues too, and so do the Phillies, and that's why I think it's going to be a good matchup. It's not David versus Goliath. It's fairly equal playing ground, and I think at the end of the day, whoever's healthy is probably going to be the team that ends up winning. I don't look at it like, just because we beat you guys in the playoffs that it's a guarantee that we're going to beat you again. I have confidence. I'm not like going into it dreading like I was last year, but it could go either way. If Manaea stays injured, it's going to be very tough for us to get past your lineup. That's for sure.
Yes, I think that's true, but I think the Mets and their heating upness are going to serve them well. Well, Anthony, we're coming to the end of our show now. Any final thoughts before we send this puppy out?
Well, this is my favorite time of year because we're past, all the excitedness of opening day. We still have like 130 games left or whatever it is. 140 is even more than that. We're right in the heart of, not in the heart of baseball season, but we're just in the beginning. We're just getting into it. I love this. And then we get into June, July, August, the heart of baseball season. This is the best. I love this stuff. So much fun. And I love seeing the new talents come out. I mean, we saw Zach Venn come out for the Rockies, and I'm very high on him. I'm very excited to see what he can do. And I would imagine that we will be talking about him in studio next week, hopefully, for the best. Yeah, I love talking about new young guys. That's the next stars of baseball, hopefully. That'd be great. The next stars. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to The Walkoff. We will see you next time, and we hope that you enjoyed this exciting episode. We'll be back on live air from 2 to 3 next week. Same time, same place, WMSC, Upper Montclair. But you can remember, if you ever miss our episodes, you're more than welcome to listen to them on Spotify. We'll see you guys next time.